I've been wearing this shirt for like 6 days straight. Hey guys, Kyra here. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're talking about my skin story. I'm excited to share what I've learned from not suffering but going through the pimple journey that I have gone through. And so we're just gonna hop right into the video, okay guys? Let's get into it. Alright, so my journey with acne started back in grade 6. In grade 6, I had started coming out of my shell. I was finally somebody who wasn't shy. I was somebody who was talking more with people, and I was outgoing. I was making friends, and then halfway through the year, I got my first pimple. And I remember like waking up one morning and kind of just like noticing that my forehead kind of just had these like dots all over it, and they weren't like, they didn't stand out or anything. They're just kind of a little bit discolored, and they were there. And I didn't think much of it. You know, I was in grade 6, nobody cared, you know, like I didn't care, none of my friends really noticed. I hadn't really yet started thinking about my body image as something that was wrong, you know what I mean? Like I wasn't worried about it at that point. Then grade 7 came along, and that's when I started kind of noticing it a little bit more. I don't think I started breaking out anymore. It was still pretty much my forehead, but it kind of bothered me, and so I asked my mom if I could start wearing makeup. That's the first time. Grade 7 was when I started wearing foundation. And that was an interesting time for me. Grade 7 and 8 in particular, I did not know how to match my colors. And so people would constantly tell me that I was incredibly pale, and like I just didn't know what to do about it. Anyways, it was like a big deal for me back then. In grade 7, it was pretty much just my forehead, and then I started breaking out more along my chin. Pretty much just in this area here, and that bothered me a lot because it wasn't necessarily painful, but it was just kind of annoying, you know what I mean? You can feel it on your skin. And in grade 7 and 8, that's when I started kind of worrying more about what guys thought, if my friends would care if I had any, you know what I mean? And I would kind of wake up and I would notice them first thing. That's the first thing I would notice. I would notice my pimples. And so it started really getting on my nerves, and it really started playing with my confidence. And I had never been a very confident person, but I was losing confidence from gaining acne. I took Proactive in grade 7. I think it was grade 7. Oh my god, my phone. Must be Sean. In grade 7, I took Proactive, and Julianne Hough was like the model for it at that time. So I was like, damn, of course I want to look like Julianne Hough. So I went on it, and I kid you not, the second day that I was on it, I broke out in hives. My face was like twice its size, like it was huge. And like, that was probably even more embarrassing than the fact that I had acne. So like, oh my god, like I remember, I can picture that time. It felt like my skin was leaking. There's no other way of like describing it. It felt like my skin was leaking. And like, it felt, oh my god, shut up phone. It was like, I could feel it, like, oh my god, I can't even describe it. Oh my god, that was like the worst time of my life. And so I didn't clear my acne, and it made me look like a bumblebee. A red bumblebee? A very fat red bumblebee. Oh my god. Grade 7 and 8, you know, people didn't seem to notice it. They just noticed the fact that I was wearing makeup. That's about it. But then in grade 9, then again I moved schools. This is when I moved to Ottawa, and I think that summer I was so worried that I wouldn't make any friends because of my skin. And this has always been an ongoing struggle. I was always connecting my skin issues with my issues with making friends. And so I always thought that people didn't want to be friends with me because of how I looked and because of how I was breaking out. And so I was very worried that I wouldn't make any friends. I did. Obviously I made friends, very, very good friends that were with me all through high school. But it was always this worry, you know what I mean? And on top of the friends, I was worried that guys wouldn't like me. You know, there's always this image of the perfect skin, all the pretty girls with the perfect skin, and you know what I mean? Like they were always the one getting the guys, and here I was, not with perfect skin. It was getting worse and worse as the years went on, and I was just worried, you know, that I wouldn't get it. I wouldn't, you know, get a boyfriend, and I wouldn't get to go through the same things that as normal girls my age got to go through. That's what I thought. I thought that I wasn't normal because of my skin. And so yeah, grade 9 came along, I made friends, everything was fine, but I started breaking out a lot more. My forehead got considerably worse along the sides of my foreheads. I never really had anything around here, but around my lips, like I have some like around my nose area, and like kind of like around here I was breaking out a little more. At first in grade 9, they were very subtle. They were kind of just very small red bumps. But then in grade 10 and 11, that's when I was at my worst. That was like, those were the years that I remember like clearly feeling like very sad and very upset with my skin. In grade 10, I was like, I was very, very distraught about my skin, and so I would put makeup on and I would try my absolute best to cover it up. Like, I tried so hard. And that's the year I started playing rugby too, and so I would even go to school. I was going to school and then playing rugby afterwards, where I would sweat so much, and like I would sweat my makeup off, and that scared the crap out of me because I didn't want people seeing me without makeup. But like, all in all, it was just making it even worse because when I was sweating, like my pores were just getting clogged. And so it was just this vicious cycle of me trying to hide my skin, but making it worse in the process. And so grade 10 went by, like I didn't feel pretty. Then, the summer going into grade 11, I don't know why I decided this all of a sudden, but I just sat myself down and I said, Kyra, you know what? You're not going to wear makeup for the entirety of grade 11. You're going to let your skin breathe for the entire year. And you know what? You're going to live. You're just going to live your life and not worry about having to hide yourself and cover up your skin. So this was like a huge thing. Like I was pretty terrified going to school that first day, because I didn't know if people would look at me differently, if they would gawk, if they would like stay away from me. I pretty much felt as though my pimples and my acne made me a monster, essentially. You know what I mean? Like people would be afraid of me. And so anyways, grade 11 was probably the most like revolutionary year for me, in terms of accepting myself and my skin. And so I kid you not, the entire year, except for like on days where we were getting all fancy and dressed up, but every day at school, essentially, I wore no makeup. And on top of having bad skin, I also have very red skin. I blush very easily, just turn red. Even when somebody just talks to me, I start turning red. So anyways, on top of having problematic skin, I had very red face. And so people, like I had a few people comment, and it was hard because for all these years I just thought me covering it up meant people didn't notice, but obviously they noticed. You know what I mean? Like you notice these things, and I was just like, when I wasn't wearing makeup, I thought that people would all of a sudden realize that I had acne, but no, like they knew all along, you know what I mean? I was just worried for nothing, I think, at the fact that all of a sudden I wasn't wearing makeup and people would start hating on me, because I still had the same friends. You know what? I even think I made more friends that year. That was probably one of my favorite years at high school. I was just myself. I was able to, you know what? I felt vulnerable, but I was using that vulnerability of completely showing myself essentially naked. You know what I mean? Like I just didn't have any makeup. My face was naked. And like I used that to my benefit. I said, you know what, Kyra? The most embarrassing thing for yourself and the scariest thing for you is not wearing makeup. Then you can do anything else when you don't do it. You know what I mean? Like when you don't wear makeup, you can do anything in the world because that's your biggest fear. And so that year was really, really great for me. I made amazing friends. Probably one of my best friends I made that year. Yeah, like I haven't talked to him in a while. Hi, Cole. I don't think you watch these videos, but if you do, hi. You were like such a huge help that year for me. You were probably like my best friend that year, and I still consider you one of my best friends. Like you're fantastic. Just have you by my side, you know what I mean? So that was really, really great. And that's when I was in one of my favorite classes ever, my outdoor education class. I made amazing friends in that class. They're my family now, and yeah, no, it was a really great year, and my skin didn't stop me from that. And I think that's probably the biggest lesson I learned through all this, is that like you're so much more than your imperfections. And so like I learned so much in grade 11. And then going into grade 12, it was actually like, it wasn't even a worry for me anymore. It was more of not a trigger, but it was more like when something else was on my mind, like something that was bothering me, all of a sudden I would kind of just think about my skin and be like, oh, like I failed this class, and then now I have bad skin. You know what I mean? Like it was more, that's a really bad example, but like it was a connection. Like I would say like, if something bad happened in my life, I would automatically revert to like, oh, and my skin's bad. Like, oh, it sucks. You know what I mean? And so it wasn't like a constant thing where I was always thinking about like, oh, like I wish my skin was better. Oh, like blah, blah, blah. But it was definitely kind of still there in the back of my mind. And I've come a long way. My skin used to be terrible, like all around here. Like it was like acne upon acne, you know what I mean? Like it was a pimple and then there was like a pimple on top of it, and it was red, and but they were whiteheads, and it was just, oh man, like like it was a hard time. And I'm proud of myself though for the fact that I just didn't wear any makeup that year, and I just let my skin be. I tried not to worry about it too much, and you know what, like I learned so much that year. And so from that point, grade 12, I was okay. My skin pretty much just died down. I mean, it doesn't bother me anymore. I've gotten to this point where it's kind of like, you know, this is who I am, take me as I am. My skin doesn't define me. That's pretty much my skin story. But I guess what I want to get out of this, after sharing with you my last 6 years of this journey, is that it's ongoing, and that it does not end. Any journey that you take, it never really ends. It never truly ends. And so with this, I'm going to continue calling it a journey because it is always going to be something that I will work towards. And it's not that I'm working towards perfect skin anymore. For a while it really was, but now it's more that I'm working towards being healthy and being happy and just feeling as comfortable in my skin. No matter what your skin is like, you could have the most clear skin in the world, you can have pimples like I had, or like I have, or like anything in the world. You can, you know, whatever it may be, any insecurity. Just look at yourself for a second and notice the beauty in it. Notice what's come out of it. For me, for my skin, I've learned to love myself. I've learned to put my best face forward, and you know what? Sometimes that best face is the one without makeup. It really is like whatever it may be for you, whatever your insecurity is, look at it. Look at it straight in the face. Look at that insecurity. Look at it and say, what have I learned from you? What is it that I've come to learn? And if you haven't learned anything yet, maybe it's because you've been too scared to acknowledge it, or you've been too scared to pursue it. But just you know, embrace it, and embrace all of its terribleness and all of its craziness and all of its wishing that you didn't have it. But you know, you're gonna take it all in, and you're gonna notice that there is something that comes from it. You know, it's the universe, man, works in mysterious ways, and for me, I've learned a lot through my skin. Now, that is my skin story. If you're going through the same thing that I'm going through, or anything in the world, if you're going through an insecurity, whether it be your skin or whether it be anything else, it is so wonderful to learn. And your insecurities are sometimes the biggest things, the biggest teachers. I'm happy that I've gotten to this point where I feel I can share this. Obviously, it's going to be an ongoing thing in my life, but I'm making progress towards just changing my lifestyle in a way that even if I do have a pimple here and there, it's not a big deal. You know, it's never a big deal. The things we think that are huge, big problems in our lives, in retrospect, they really aren't. And I've really come to see that with my acne. And so, again, thank you. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.